Coffee Power Lunch.
Another martini, Paul.
Hello?
Hello?
Damn kids, roaring through here in your brand new shiny cars. Polluting the earth with your fast food trash and your loud music. What you all doing here?
We're looking for Camp Blackwood.
Camp Blackwood? You mean Camp Blood?
Camp Blood?
You heard me right, young missy. Now tell me, why do you and your friends want to go there?
We heard it was a good local campsite. Nice, quiet, and secluded.
Oh, it's secluded, all right. Very secluded. And it's quiet, too, most of the time anyway, except sometimes late at night. If you listen real carefully, you can hear him traipsing through the woods.
Traipsing?
Who are you talking about?
You don't know the story, do you? No, I guess you don't. If you did, you wouldn't be sticking your noses where they don't belong.
I don't know what you're talking about, but if you'll just point us in the direction of the camp, we'll be going.
You don't listen too good, do you, boy? You and your friends don't want to go to Camp Blood.
Hey, this is Robert Russler. I played Ron Grady in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to this extra special, special, I'm putting in inverted commas, show of The Hysteria Continues, because we are going somewhere where I never thought we would go. And that's not to Eric's sex dungeon, but we are going
You
to...
have been there plenty of times, Justin.
Yes, with the police, I have. Yes, we're covering Camp Blood, that film, I think we can call it a film, from 1999, 2000, which is a film I'm kind of trying to think if I've ever seen it before. I'm certainly aware of it because it was, for some reason, I'm not quite sure why, it was a very big hit in the UK back in the day. But anyway, we're going to be discussing that, and we're joined by friend of the show, David C. Mollet. How are you doing, David, today?
I am not clowning around when I say I love Camp Blood.
Well, it's good to know. I think there'll be at least a couple of defenders of this movie, although who knows, there may be a few side wonders here or there, so we'll see how it goes. But yes, thank you for joining us. So it'll be possibly more fun talking about the movie and watching it. It remains to be seen. But Erik, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. This is my first ever trip to Camp Blood, apart from, of course, Camp Crystal Lake.
Indeed. There are a lot of sequels, aren't there?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. It kind of almost, I think it challenges the Amityville series for sequels. But
there's no Camp Blood Karen, though, sadly.
Not yet. Don't wish it into existence.
Spoiler
Eric,
alert, when we get to trivia, you will find out that there are only 3 Camp Blood movies that actually matter.
And have we just watched one or not?
Yes, you have.
Okay. Well, how are you doing, Nathan?
Oh, I'm doing very well. As this is my pick, I'm very excited to discuss it.
Well, this is right in your wheelhouse, isn't it? This has got a Nathan pick written all over it.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And Joseph, I imagine that you're full of the joys of spring, covering Camp Blood today.
That was my Jennifer Rich cough impression.
Right. Well, we will be going to Camp Blackwood later. Although, spoiler alert, there wasn't any camp there, was there? Or did I miss it?
Well, when they put up the tent, that was the camp.
Do you call it? I thought for something to be called like Camp Crystal Lake, it had to have a camp, as in like cabins and stuff.
Well, typically it does, but if you're going out into the woods, it's called camping.
Sometimes you have to rent a lot or a space, but sometimes you just go and do your own thing.
Okay. I just thought they were being cheap, but obviously there was a logical explanation there. So, but anyway, David, thank you for joining us. And is there anything you've been watching recently that you can tell us about and take our minds off Camp Blood for a moment?
Just to really narrow it down, I have watched over 50 movies in just the past couple months for my YouTube channel, Everybody Dies. I did a retrospective on jungle cannibal movies, so I had to pretty much watch 1 million of those and decide which fit the criteria and which didn't. Because you don't see too many videos of people like just talking about that subgenre altogether. And then that got me thinking, you also don't see people really talk about Nazi exploitation or nunsploitation that much. And those I hadn't really seen many of. So yeah, basically in the past couple months, I have just been watching those three subgenres. And I wanted to ask you guys how you feel about exploitation and stuff, because I was kind of worried about covering like Nazi exploitation, because I can understand that people would get offended by it. But the way I see it is that, and nunsploitation, they're basically just women in prison films in like cosplay, like nun cosplay and like World War II cosplay. I mean, they're basically just smut. So if you like smut, then you should like these movies. But I can understand how people would like get offended by them.
For me, it's kind of none of them particularly float my boat. It's not so much I'm offended by any of them. I just don't really do anything for me particularly. Although I've seen a fair few of them. I think the nunsploitation would probably be more up Eric's street as far as sweary women going mad and giving sound bites.
Although some of them I find a bit dreary. The Nazi exploitation ones would probably be the ones that would be the most interesting because they're probably the most trashy. The jungle cannibal ones, I find sometimes they can go a bit extreme for my tastes. They're kind of like the Terrifier movies before the Terrifier movies. So the Nazi exploitation ones would probably be the most watchable of the three genres for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't watch a lot of the cannibal ones because of the real animal stuff in them. I've seen some of them before, but I wouldn't watch them again. So.
But even outside of that, I find they're just so. A lot of them are very grim and downbeat. Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Holocaust. They're just not. They're not fun movies to watch.
As I've found out that, like with all three of the subgenres, actually there is a wide variety where some are like, I mean, they're all just exploitation, but like some are like more horror than others. Some are more drama than others. Like. They vary pretty much. So do the cannibal movies. There's some that are basically just jungle adventure movies, and then they might have like one scene of cannibalism near the end.
Yeah, so I mean, so you've been kind of feeding yourself a diet of those movies. Would you consider yourself a fan of them, or that you're just kind of more of a kind of morbid curiosity now that you've seen so many?
I was already a fan of cannibal movies. Just because I think the ones that are dumb, they're dumb fun. I had never really seen many nunsploitation or Nazi exploitation, but I've just really gotten into exploitation movies, period, lately. And I would say I'm a fan now, but like it really kind of depends. Like, especially women in prison movies, if you love those trashy, fun, dumb kind of movies like Chained Heat and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some that match that quality. Like, especially Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS is, I mean, the whole plot is basically this. She makes these prisoners, these men, sleep with her, and if they can't get her off, she has them killed. That's basically the plot of the movie.
It's good to know that I would survive that prison and you wouldn't, David.
Let's just say I would be the one holding the outside pockets.
Excellent. Was there anything else you want to tell us about, David?
I could rabble on and on and on just to fill the runtime because I honestly don't know how long this episode is going to be just talking about the first Camp Blood. I mean, what more can you say about it other than it's perfect? So, I mean, if you guys want to fill the runtime some more, I could just blab.
I'm going to say no because I have to edit this show. Sorry.
Well, thank you, David. Nathan, what about you? What have you been watching?
I watched Nosferatu.
Oh, yes, so did I.
The new Robert Eggers one, yeah?
Yeah.
And?
It's got excellent cinematography.
Oh, dear.
And, you know, I mean, it's a really good movie. It's just not my kind of movie. Like, you know, I mean, it's very artistic, and I think for people that are looking for that, they're really going to like it. But for me, I was just bored. And, you know, I was like, man, I want to put on, like, you know, Don't Go in the Woods or something.
Did you not like the vampire dong?
Oh, there's a vampire dong in it.
There is, yes.
I mean, I won't lie. At one point in the movie, I fell asleep.
So did I, actually, which I hardly ever do. But
yeah. I mean, it just, like I said, it's just not my kind of movie. And I'm just I don't know. I'm a very simple man.
For me, did anyone else catch it before I chime in?
Not yet, no.
I mean, it looks like Nathan said. It looks fantastic. It looks amazing. But I'm trying to think if I ever saw the original Nosferatu, the silent film. Did see the Isabella Gianni and Klaus Kinski one from the late 70s. But watching this, I reminded why the makers of Nosferatu were sued by Bram Stoker's family for copyright infringement, because essentially it is identical to Dracula, isn't it, Nathan? In pretty much every way, really, apart from being set in Germany. I was surprised actually how little it changes around. There's a couple of minor changes, like it's set in Germany, and there's something to do with some real estate, but that's pretty much it. Everything else seems almost identical. So I think for that in itself, for me, I know that story so well, and I've seen it done so many times that there wasn't anything particularly. Well, there was no twist to it. There was nothing. It looked fantastic, but it's kind of like almost like a kind of another cover version. Sometimes it's after a while you kind of just it just washes over you because there's nothing really to stand out. So although it looks amazing, you do see some vampire dong. It hits so many familiar beats that I found it, and also because the whole thing is, in a lot of ways, is that Dracula or Orlok or wherever he was in this is, he kind of mesmerizes. There's kind of dreamlike ambience going through, which is very pretty to look at and very nice, but it is kind of like a bit of a lullaby, and it's not a coincidence that both me and Nathan fell asleep in the movie. So, but yeah, because I think you'd probably, out of all of us, Erik, you'd probably like it the most because you're the most pretentious.
I'm not the most pretentious. You're the art student. Yeah, vampire movies not my thing. I have seen the original Nosferatu. I actually have it on Blu-ray, but and it's quite good. I would be intrigued to watch it, but I'm not rushing out. It's not top of my to-watch list, unfortunately. Just because it's a vampire movie from the director of The Witch. I just think what you've said about it is exactly what I predicted it would probably be like. Because I see it's over 2 hours, and yeah, it sounds like it's slow and ponderous rather than sort of Blade or underworld type spectacle.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Anything else?
No, that's been it since last time.
Okay, what about you, Joseph?
Yeah, I think the only thing I watched was the first episode of Video Nasty after you mentioned it, and I'd had it in my queue for a while, but I just never got around to it. But I watched the first episode, and I plan to finish the series, bar World War III happening. But overall, I really enjoyed the look back into the Video Nasty ruination through a flight of murderous fancy, as it were. I think my only problem with the show was that the accents from a couple of the characters are so thick. I missed an important plot element about the two leads, and I had to read a recap to get the gist of it. But overall, it felt like a genuine love affair for those 72 persecuted films, and we even have a slasher movie killer afoot. And the episodes, they're less than 30 minutes, so I should be able to breeze through the rest of the show and recaps if needed in no time. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Excellent. My only I'm really enjoying it. I've watched about 3 episodes now, but my only bugbear with it is that Nightmare Maker or Night Warning or whatever it was, known by lots of different names, the William Asher movie, wasn't the rarest Video Nasty.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because I've watched the first 4 episodes. I think the attention to detail regarding the Video Nasties is really good in it, because it's Christopher Smith is one of the people behind it, so the director of Triangle and Creep and that. So the Video Nasty stuff it seems pretty accurate. Apart from that seems like that's probably one of the if it was SS Experiment Camp or The Beast in Heat or something, maybe.
I think The Beast in Heat was arguably was the rarest, wasn't it? I think that's the one that goes for the most money, or used to. But so you enjoyed it, Joseph. I mean, as far as I can tell, I'm only 3 episodes in. I mean, Erik, you're 4 episodes in. Are you enjoying the momentum of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I wouldn't call it outstanding or anything. I'm interested in it because it's set in Dublin. Well, partially set in Dublin. They travel to England to try and get this elusive copy of Nightmare Maker to complete their collection of Video Nasties. So yeah, I am enjoying it. Yeah, it's one that's was heavily publicized over here. I think it was shown on television last month, maybe January. So yeah, I was well aware of it. I just didn't get around to watching it until earlier this week. And yeah, I mean, the fact that I plowed through 4 episodes in more or less one sitting shows you that I was, engrossed.
I'm just out of interest, Erik, as the video nasties, did you, well, I mean, you're obviously not old enough to remember probably, but they're showing, no, but as far as being able to go into rental shops and seeing them on the shelves in the early 80s, but as far as, were the same titles released in the Republic of Ireland that were being released in the UK, as in on the same labels? It was, okay. Yeah. I just wondered if there was any, obviously, because you've got North and South Ireland, I wasn't sure if it had its own.
No, it did. So we had all the same sort of furore around video nasties as you did over there.
And so they got banned in pretty much the same way as they did in the UK.
Although by the time I got a VCR, I was still able to get a hold of a pre-cert copy of Evil Dead, but I think that was the only one that I was able to find. They had The Exorcist as well, which wasn't a video nasty, but was supposed to be unavailable on video at that stage.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thank you. Joseph, is anything else?
There probably is, but I've probably forgotten it.
Okay. Well, I shall come on to Erik, which wouldn't be the first time.
In my sex dungeon. The only thing, like this, I watched this maybe a month ago and I forgot to mention it, and it's not horror, but I bought The Martian Chronicles on Blu-ray, which came out a couple of months ago, and I only just mentioned it because you're on it, Justin, doing a commentary track with Amanda Reyes on one of the 3 episodes, and it's a beloved sci-fi mini-series from 1980, beloved by me. It's very dated looking, like the special effects in it are not terribly special at times, to say the least, but I love it, and it has a huge nostalgia value because I did watch it back in 1980 or 81 when it was screened in Ireland. So yeah, just a big thumbs up for The Martian Chronicles Blu-ray featuring Amanda Reyes and Justin Kurzweil on a commentary.
Yes, well, Amanda's on all 3.
She's on all 3 episodes,
and I'm on one of them. So, but yes, that was always fun to work with Amanda and revisit that. So, have you watched them all yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay, cool, excellent. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay, well, I've just got. We talked about Video Nasty and obviously Nosferatu. So the only other thing that I've caught up in the last week or so was the Gorge on Apple TV. Which is the kind of the new big sci-fi monster horror movie that's been much touted by Apple. We had a free month, so we watched that. And the basic story, if you don't know, is kind of 2 kind of assassins, I kind of guess, or long snipers. One's one working for the Russian government, one working for the United States government, or so it appears at the beginning, kind of hired to kind of monitor either side of this big gorge in some country where in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in Eastern Europe, and with the they're told not to correspond with each other, but to shoot anything that comes out of this gorge, which is this kind of massive kind of pit with this very misty, so you don't know what's down there. And of course, there's something horrible down there, but obviously I won't spoil that. But the film. It also kind of it's kind of a romantic comedy as well in some ways. It's kind of so you have these 2 characters played by Miles Teller and Anna Taylor-Joy, of course, who was in The Witch, kind of falling in love from across this gorge. And then things happen, as you probably imagine, and it all gets very silly. So I kind of like the first half of the movie. It's quite sort of tense and funny and well done. But when you actually get to see what's in the gorge, it turns into a bit silly for me. But talking of gorge, maybe there will be a massive chasm between us when it comes to our feature presentation. Who knows? Joseph, what do we have? Did they have the budget for a trailer?
There is a trailer, and it's got the most ineffectual narration I've ever heard in my life, so you will get to hear that and see it if you're watching on YouTube.
Okay, well, there you go. So, Nathan, after this, bring us back in.
You don't listen too good, do you, boy? You and your friends don't want to go to Camp Blood.
They didn't heed the warning.
Oh, guys, this is awesome.
They ignored the screams that echoed through the woods that night.
Now we're lost. We don't have a guide. It's just a matter of time before he kills us all one by one!
Oh, Jesus.
George.
The clown isn't real. It's just a story that some of us locals made up to scare the tourists away.
He's real, I'm telling you! He killed my friends and now he's gonna kill me and he's gonna kill you!
Warning. Due to the violent nature of this program, no one under 17 will be permitted to wear 3D glasses. If you have a taste for terror, camp out at Camp Blood.
There is nothing like the great outdoors. Out and about on a camping trip in the woods, without a care in the world, 4 campers found themselves in an unknown world. With the death of their guide and at the mercy of a cold-blooded killer, the trip of fun in the sun soon took a wrong turn. With friends slowly disappearing, so does the chance of getting out alive. Ooh, haunting. And that's the back of the VHS box. So Camp Blood, I saw this. I was working in a video store, and oh man, the memories. Oh, I miss them. But I was working in a video store, and the people that own the video store ordered a lot of independent horror movies, and this was one of them. And when I saw the description, I was like, oh, I've got to see this. So I watched it and have been in love with it ever since. So you could say I was there from the beginning. So yeah, it follows these 2 couples who go into the woods to go camping. They have a tour guide named Harris that is supposed to give them a tour, around the area. And so basically they wake up one day or one morning and Harris has been burned alive. And then they're attacked by a clown masked maniac with a machete. I really enjoyed this one. It's a low budget film, I guess you could say. And I think they did a pretty good job, for not having much of a budget. I did get a kick out of Nicole, the character Nicole, who decides to go camping in a pair of high heels. Not sure that was conducive for camping. Her boyfriend, Jay, is, pretty annoying through a lot of the film. And his death is hilarious. It's just ridiculous the way, I think the whole thing is he's supposed to have gone insane. And that's why he's that's why he's just laughing in the killer's face until he meets his demise. But it happens so fast that it doesn't ring true to me. And speaking of not ringing true, I don't know that I necessarily bought Jay and Nicole as a couple. I didn't feel the romantic vibes that a couple would have.
He shows signs of coercive behaviour, doesn't he? Because he's all like, put on your seatbelt, stop putting nail varnish on in the car, stop chewing gum.
Yeah, it's always bossy and demanding. Not very nice. I think the clown attacks are pretty fun. I love the one where the fishermen get killed and they both look up at the killer with this wide-eyed, no kind of look until one gets decapitated in one swipe, which was a lot of fun. I think the chase with the final girl is also a lot of fun. I mean, she does a lot of emoting, because she is being chased by a homicidal maniac.
Sure.
Yeah. And I kind of thought there was some nods to Texas Chainsaw, because there's a scene where she's running down the road and the clown killer's behind her, just kind of slashing her back up while she screams, which really reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the ending scenes with that. So I wondered if they were inspired by that. But yeah, I've got a whole lot more to say, but I don't want to talk too much about all the, shocking things that happen in this film. So I want to give you guys a chance, and we'll start with our guest. David, give us your thoughts.
Well, first of all, you guys have been pronouncing it wrong this entire time. It's Camp Blood. As Thatcher says every single time. He just like he's tearing his throat apart every time he says it. I just kind of jotted down some random things because, like I said, other than this movie being perfect, there's not a lot to say about it. My personal history is it's kind of like Bloody Murder, where I could never find the first one growing up, so I watched the second one several times for years before I could finally find a copy of the first one. So part 2 has always been kind of like my movie. Like, I love Camp Blood 1.
David.
What?
You ruined the ending to part 1 by watching part 2, because it picks up right off the bat.
Listen, on Bloody Murder 2's DVD, when they used to have the kill scenes or jump to a kill, Bloody Murder 2's was the kills from part 1 for some reason.
Wow.
So yes, I had it already spoiled for me, but it just made me appreciate the first one more. No slasher can be bad that has nudity in the first 2 minutes. I really love the music during the sex scene. It's like try to be all sensual and like romantic, and it's...
Well, I want to know how they had sex without removing their pants.
I'll show you later.
I bet you will.
My favorite bird is also the asparagus whatchamacallit.
I love that line, actually. That made me laugh.
I like that. I'm pretty sure it's the killer that's supposed to be making the bird noises. Did you guys pick up on that?
No.
Like, they'd hear the bird noises and he'd be like, huh? What? And then it would like keep happening, like, and then they would start acting scared. So like, instead of the killer, like, like just grunting or making noises, I'm pretty sure it was the clown making the bird noises. You guys are also wrong about Jay. I think he's the most sympathetic, down-to-earth, relatable character. He's definitely a feminist, if I've ever seen one in a movie.
I mean, I particularly love the scene where he punches out the heroine.
Well, I mean, I'll stop. Just gonna get myself in trouble. But yeah, I hated Jay in this role. I hated that actor. He did go on to be the lead in one of 10 million movies called Scarecrow, but the one where he's like super quippy like Freddy, that's the same actor, and I much prefer him in that movie than this one. I really like the exaggerated sound effects like Friday the 13th Part 5, like just any kind of swooshing or anything. It's just like so overblown sound wise. But my favorite part of the movie is that this is the only slasher where the killer gets punched and runs away. You could say he's like trying to lead him into the woods, but it's not often you see somebody chase the killer, especially after just punching them once. So that always makes me laugh. I would like to mention, we already mentioned it. I mean, the description on the movie already spoils that Harris got burned, supposedly. I like to say that right before discovering, or right after discovering her charred body, somebody was like, it was some story Harris cooked up. It's a little too soon. Like, come on. I really hate in slashers where you accidentally kill your friend, where they're running and then they turn and just accidentally stab them. Which also goes into, I had a fear as a child of seeing too many slasher movies where somebody gets stabbed once and they die immediately. And I honestly believed that if I got like a big enough splinter or something, I could just die immediately. And yet at the end of the movie, when the clown is chasing Trisha, they hack her in the back with the machete like 100 times and she's fine.
Yeah, well, that's nothing compared to like Scream 5 and Scream 6. Bloody hell.
That is one thing I thought of Ghostface. Like, Ghostface is one of the few slashers that, because, they're just human, but they get the shit beat out of them. but I've never seen somebody punch Ghostface in the face once and then they run away.
One thing I love is that Ghostface, it's always a whodunit, and they will take a beating in the film, but then, like, when we see the characters, like, right after, there's no bruises, no anything, faces look perfect.
Nathan, did you guess who the killer was?
I absolutely guessed who the killer was, and I'm usually really bad at this stuff, but if we're honest...
But I'm like, even Nathan.
There's just not enough suspects.
But they could have pulled Mrs. Voorhees, couldn't they, and just had somebody turn up randomly at the end.
Yeah, they could have done that. But also, I'm going to spoil it. Okay, spoiler alert, skip ahead. Okay, Harris, the tour guide, is the killer. Like, the body that was burned wasn't her. And so the reason I suspected this is because if I don't see the death, then I'm suspicious.
Mm-hmm. The whole thing with the Crazy Ralph character Thatcher, I'm still not sure to this day who he was to Harris. Like, first he's like, oh, I just made up the legend about the clown so to keep people away. But then he tries to help her at the last second, and then he gets killed, and it never really reveals, like, what they had to do with each other.
Doesn't it clear that up in the sequel?
Not that I remember.
I'm guessing they just couldn't afford to tell us.
Even with the ending, like the ending of this one leads to believe that she might be crazy. Maybe she was the killer. Maybe the main character, Trisha, maybe she dreamed it all. Like, it's hard to tell. And then, yeah, in the second one, spoiler alert, it was Harris. It was the clown. So they kind of like, which I hate those kind of endings. So I'm glad that they just kind of picked up right where the first one ends. You guys just cover the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The Wikipedia page for Camp Blood compares this ending to that movie's ending.
I saw that, yeah.
So I could see that's why Nathan picked this movie next.
Well, yeah, it's a classic.
I also love that Shemp Mosley, who is credited as playing the killer, has his own IMDb credit.
And he's got the name of Shemp, my favorite stooge.
Well, I'm pretty sure different people played the killer. So they just kind of did like Evil Dead. Those movies always had like a Shemp credited for like stand-ins and stuff like that. So I like that they did that, but then somebody gave him his own IMDb credit, which is just funny to me. But really, it's a brisk 73 minutes. It does take a while, and not a whole lot happens until the end, but honestly, the movie moves like so fast that you don't even really seem to notice, and I don't know. I've just always loved it.
I would 100% agree with you. I'm going to turn it over now to Joseph.
Yeah, well, as the older I get, the more I kind of appreciate shot-on-video films. But I think I like the old idiosyncrasies of the 80s stuff, the 90s stuff. It feels like they're actually trying, and for what it's worth, there's some decent camera work here, and the actors, most of them are trying, but I don't know. I just felt it was too ugly and flat and lifeless to kind of make me laugh, and it wasn't really good enough to kind of jolt me out of my seat. So the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just sitting there kind of nitpicking at things like Jay's constant whining, or the lead girl, or their mouth hanging open the entire film. I'm like, I could smell her breath through my TV screen. It was that bad. And her acting, oh my God, her acting. It was like, my wife was like listening in the background, and she's like, what in the hell are you watching over there? And I'm like, Nathan picked a shitty film for us to cover this week. So, yeah, I didn't hate this movie, Nathan, but, with shot on video movies, I really, really want really, really out there stuff like Boarding House and, some of the later 80s stuff that, even stuff like Sledgehammer. I find that stuff funny. This I just found kind of trying, if I'm honest. The one likable character, the lead guy, they kill him first, so I was pissed off about that. And Jay is like one of the last to go. So I'm like, my God, you have your priorities all backwards here, people. So yeah, I didn't hate this, but I probably will never watch it again, if I'm honest. And I dread watching the sequels. So
Joseph,
that's my 2 cents.
All right, I'm going to turn it over now to Justin.
Right. Well, I'd say my kind of history with this movie is I did own the DVD of it, but never watched it for some reason. I'm not sure why. But I kind of knew of its reputation as this kind of cheapy, sort of straight-to-video slasher movie. So it kind of had me intrigued. So it was kind of it was a good opportunity to catch up with it. Now, I didn't hate it. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff to, it's not a good movie by any stretch. But I have seen worse, and you can quote me on that for the Blu-ray release. But there's some things, I think I agree with Joseph. There's some of the camera kind of work in it, considering it looks like it was shot with a camcorder, although I know it originally was shot in 3D, wasn't it?
Yeah. Have any of us seen it in 3D?
It was released in this very early, like, kind of 3D for your TV that you had to buy this device and hook it up.
Yeah, field sequential, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the red and blue and stuff like that, so you can't use those kind of glasses. It just kind of looks blurry. But yeah, I don't know anybody that ever had that device or anything, so I don't know if it actually works in 3D or not, but almost every DVD release has a 2D and a 3D version on it.
Yeah, I mean, there were bits in it I didn't mind too much. I mean, I thought some of the acting was okay, considering, it kind of, in a lot of ways, it looks like a film that some friends have made on a weekend camping trip. It has kind of pretty much zero production values. Everything about it is cheap. But some of the camera work's not bad. The scene actually on by the rocks by the river, I thought wasn't half bad. It clearly isn't Harris in the mask, because whoever's wearing the mask got short black hair, as you see quite often from behind. So unless they pulled a kind of Roy in Friday the 13th Part 5. And the other thing, I mean, things for me that kind of... well, first of all, before I get onto that, I would say that I also picked up on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing at the end. It was definitely sort of like a cheap jack kind of intensity to it, but I kind of appreciate that. It kind of went a bit more gonzo than maybe the rest of the movie. It was a bit pedestrian, but that kind of ending, that kind of the chase scene, a very slow-mo chase scene, and also the possibly the most unrealistic dummy being run over. That they didn't just do it once, they did it twice, just for good effect.
I love that part.
It looked like it was the exact same shot, wasn't it? It wasn't like they did it again.
It could have been, but it's.
I love when fake dummies are used. I love it.
Yeah.
That's probably the best part of the movie for me.
So I'd say some of the acting wasn't half bad, and obviously when we get on some background, there was people that had some kind of career, or in the case of the woman who played Harris, it was a career-ending role rather than the beginning role. But I mean, as far it's a shame. There were bits in it that I thought were quite well done, but I think it kind of did feel like the whole thing was kind of, made up as they went along. I mean, none of it made any sense of basically why Harris was killing anyone, or why that the Crazy Ralph character would join in at the end. Also, why would the Camp Blackwood be shut down when the killer had killed his unfaithful wife and now lover 20 years ago near the camp but not at it?
Well, I wanted to ask, sorry, Just, I want to ask Nathan and David real quick. Was there any reason why the three characters come back at the end as the hospital staff and the cop?
I think maybe...
It's the same actors.
I was thinking maybe lack of budget.
Well, that, obviously, but I
was going to say, I thought that insinuating that was all just she's loopy and it's all in her mind and she's concocted this story.
But yeah, if it was like in her head, wouldn't she look at the cop and the doctor and say, "It's you, you're my friends"?
I mean, that's true too, which, makes sense. But I mean, I'm thinking that maybe it's a little deeper. I mean, maybe what the director was going for is the trauma that she went through, that when she sees these people, it's like she's like applying faces to the people that she knew from this traumatic experience, because that's all she's seeing now that she's
like
in the mental hospital. Yeah, it's like her coping mechanism, exactly. So I think that's kind of what it was going for.
Nathan, have you ever considered becoming a professional pole vaulter?
A pole vaulter?
Yeah, because you took a real leap there.
Boom, boom, ching.
I'm not being a pole vaulter.
The last thing I'll say was I thought actually some of the special effects, especially the machetes to the head, although it's obviously pretty obvious how they did it, it was quite well done. But the rest of it was kind of pretty much kind of getting a ketchup bottle and squirting and seeing what sticks, kind of special effects. But yeah, overall, I mean, I've banged out a quick review for Hysteria Lives, and I kind of ended it by saying it's not terrible, but it's still terrible. But I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. So, yeah, that's my tuppence.
And last, but certainly not least, Erik.
Well, yeah, this, as I said, my first trip to Camp Blood. Like Justin, I was aware of this franchise, but I'd never actually seen one of them. Forewarned is forearmed, so I knew what to expect with the film. And once you do that, going in, I think it kind of can deliver on some level. I did appreciate the fact that it opens with this, quote, famous wildlife photographer who, looks like a valley girl and gets her boobs out more or less 10 seconds after she appears on screen. But I like the way that her boyfriend's following her and staring at her arse, and the two of them then have sex and get killed. So it's very par for the course for a slasher film. And I was thinking, God, this isn't awful. This is actually, it's I mean, it is on one hand giving me Terror at 10 Killer, except shot on digital video or VHS, whatever it was, realness. But I was kind of with the film. As David was saying, I did chuckle when Vic referred to whatever creature she's looking for in the woods to photograph. He refers to it as the asparagus anthropophagus or something. That made me laugh. Jay, yeah, he's the loathsome villain. As I was saying, he treats his girlfriend like he's the headmaster of her school or something. He's like, spit that gum out, stop applying nail varnish in the car, put your seatbelt on. And he really needs to put the phone down when he's driving. And I did love the mobile phone tech in the film. It really dates it, and it includes the line, I knew I should have bought a Motorola, which incredibly dates the film. I did also love, David also mentioned this, is it Thatcher is his name, the Crazy Ralph character who they meet at the side of the road. And he has a voice like Cookie Monster, which I really liked. I mean, the film then does fall into this lull of them wandering around the woods, kissing, gathering firewood, sitting around a campfire. Nothing terribly exciting is happening, but I still found it strangely watchable. The clown killer himself / herself didn't find terribly sinister. It felt to me like a teenager with a cheap Halloween outfit, which is probably exactly what it was, in fairness. Yeah, so I mean, as I said, I think the film was made with good intentions. They obviously had a very, very limited budget, and I appreciated the attempt at like an action scene with Steve and the clown fighting in the kind of river rocky area. And it was attempting to have at least a modicum of plot. I mean, there is a huge information dump at the end of the film, with all with the obvious exception of telling us who exactly Thatcher was in relation to Harris, but and I did guess that Harris was probably the killer as well. When you're in a slasher film with only 6 characters, it's kind of easy to guess. I assumed that it was a female in the clown costume all the time. It had very sort of didn't have broad shoulders. I thought, that looks like the killer from certain scenes in Nail Gun Massacre. So I thought that kind of gave it away quite early on. I did like the unreliable narrator twist at the end, the Dr. Caligari twist, which I didn't see coming. It was kind of like Blair Witch 2 as well, I thought. And, but although I am kind of glad that they undid it for the sequel, which I've yet to watch. But, I mean, I'm not dreading watching the sequel, if I'm honest. Yeah, because, I mean, like on the last show we did the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a film I could appreciate. It's well made, it's historically very important. But if I'm really honest, I enjoyed Camp Blood more than watching the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I mean, it is missing suspense, is one of the things it is missing for a slasher film. But as I said, I kind of know what to expect with these kind of films when Nathan comes out with them. So, once your expectations are lowered to a certain level, you can kind of appreciate these films for what they are. I mean, I totally agree. This is definitely, we've covered far worse than this. Is it a film I would, set up a tent outside Tower Records for the release of the Steelbook 4K Blu-ray? Probably not. But if Nathan comes out and says that we're covering Camp Blood 2 next time, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. I'd be interested to see what the next one is like. I can totally see why it's a firm favourite of yours, Nathan. And I found it strangely watchable.
Stop encouraging him, Erik.
Sorry.
No, this is great news. I'm loving it.
What I thought is interesting is, David, you mentioned Sleepaway Camp sequels, and saying one of the characters could have been in this, but it felt to me this was more like a Sleepaway Camp sequel, the film, considering it was made in 1999. Presumably it was kind of every other slasher was doing a kind of Scream style take on things, and there's not really much kind of postmodern quippery going on in this, really, is there, apart from the reference to Prom Night 2 because of one of the characters.
Yeah, I think that's why I liked it so much, because I liked Scream when it came out, but I hated all the Scream clones that were like all self-referential and everything after that. It's just it dates the movies like to this day. And it's just really obnoxious and annoying to me. So I like that this was like, it came out during that time as those, but it was definitely trying to go for more of a throwback 80s feel, kind of like everybody's doing now, but they're trying to make it like look and feel like the 80s, and it doesn't work. You need to just capture like the spirit of it, not trying to make it look like an 80s movie, but just have that kind of concept. Not everything has to be, oh, this is just like that movie that we watched and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it just kind of surprised me watching it. It didn't really go down that route because it felt like it would, and it didn't. So obviously that was a choice. So, but I agree. I think it was probably a throwback to those early 80s camp slashers. That obviously that's what its intention was. So, I mean, do we have some backgrounds? If you finished, Erik, have you finished your thoughts?
I have, yes. I have.
Okay.
Well, I was reading an interview with Brad Sykes. I'm actually Facebook friends with him. I've talked to him before. It's been a while, but, he's a really cool guy.
Super
big,
down to earth, like
big
talks to his fans like people.
Big 80s slasher fan, which, I respect. He talks about the challenges of filming with the 3D technology they had to use. Mentions that there was a big learning curve, and he's a big fan of the 80s slashers, like I said, so that's what made him want to do this film. He said they really had a good time making the movie, liked the effects, and he mentions that they never intended to do a part 2, but the movie did so well overseas, and he also mentions especially in the UK. So I didn't realize you were watching this so much, Justin.
I've got, I built my house out of copies.
Oh, there you have it.
Well, you're a millionaire now, because VHSs of the first movie are very hard to find and are going for a lot of money right now.
But yeah, he made 3 that I guess are kind of canon for Camp Blood, 1, 2, and Within the Woods. And honestly, if I'm being honest, the last time I tried to watch Within the Woods, I wasn't a huge fan, but I love Camp Blood 1 and 2. So maybe I should give Within the Woods another shot and, see if I can appreciate it more now than I did, back then.
The basic thing is that Brad Sykes made 1, 2, and 3, but the producers wanted to rename it Within the Woods for whatever reason, even though it calls back to the first 2 movies. It is a direct sequel. And then the producer, David Sterling, I think, of Sterling Entertainment or whatever it's called, decided to just make sequels from there. But his movie, Camp Blood First Slaughter, is technically, according to him, part 3. And then they go onwards from there. But whereas it took all that time to make 1, 2, and 3, now they are churning out 2 or more Camp Bloods a year, and they're already past number 10, plus a million spin-offs. They just released Camp Blood Shark. So they're literally just milking this as much as they can. And all of these movies, in my opinion, are just lifeless, and they just kind of cranked out. So if you found any merit in the first 3, they are not in any of the ones after that. I mean, there's dumb fun that I like, but now it's just kind of like I used to love dumb shark movies, and now they're mass producing them so much that they're just kind of soulless. They're not dumb fun anymore, and it's just kind of annoying. And that's kind of what they've done with this franchise. Is they're just, even like when they made 4 and 5, it was literally one movie and they split it into 2 parts. And there's just like so much filler on both, and they're barely like an hour. And it's just, yeah. So that's why I only consider the first 3 directed by Brad Sykes as like official ones, and then there's all the other ones.
So there must be an audience for them, though, mustn't there? There must be, for them to keep cranking them out.
There's dedicated fans that'll just buy, whatever they crank out. I think it's SRS or whoever it is that makes them. And I personally don't care for like anything that they make, because it's all like any franchise like that, like Things. They've made like 85,000 sequels to that, and it's just, I don't know.
Well, I do think it's kind of slightly, the name Sterling Entertainment was slightly ironic.
You don't think it's Sterling?
Well, I wouldn't. No, basically no. But I've given all the kind words I can to this movie. So, but I'm glad it's got its fans. I think that's great. It's and I didn't hate it. So that's as far as I can go with that.
In Germany, it was released as Clown of Fear. At least 1 and 2. I don't know if any of the other ones have been retitled anywhere. This movie was an SNJ production, which stands for Sexy Nathan Johnson.
Thank you.
You'll notice that the music was by Ghost, who went on to have a really big mainstream career.
That's not the same group.
No, it's not.
Okay, I was about to say no.
I prefer Ghost in Camp Blood, though. I hate the other Ghost with a passion.
A cousin of mine was a goth in the 90s. You probably knew him, Justin. And he was in a band called Flirt, but he played the bass, and his pseudonym was Ghost.
He's better. Courtney Taylor, who played Harris, played Mary Lou in Prom Night 3.
Oh.
So they did get, that's why Justin said earlier that it was a career-ending role for her. And then the flashback where they talk about where the man caught his girlfriend with another man, and it turned out that Harris actually caught her girlfriend with a man. That character's name was Mary Lou Maloney as well. This was the very first 3D digital horror movie, which would also make it the first 3D digital slasher movie. But like I said, you had to have that whole separate device and setup, and I don't know how many movies they even released using that technology, so I don't know if it would have even been worth the money. I don't know if it would even work on TVs nowadays. I'm not sure. The clown mask was a 1990s spearhead that they previously used in a movie that Brad Sykes made in 94 called Violent Streets that I have not seen. That mask is also very expensive and hard to find. The only main difference, like they changed it a little bit, but not too much. It has like a big star like in the middle of its head that they altered, but that's about it. I do have a mask from part 2 that's a lot more common, easy to find. Camp Blood 2 has a Ganya poster, and Brad Sykes got that and made copies, and I have one proudly displayed on my wall. It is beautiful. The executive producers were appalled by Camp Blood, and then it went on to become their top grossing movie at the time. So they it did so well overseas that they immediately started making Camp Blood 2, I think before it even came out on video. And the only other thing I have is that they shot the movie in March of 1999 in Chatsworth, California, just a few miles from the former site of Spawn Ranch, where the Manson family hung out.
Well, no wonder Nathan likes this movie, because he's from Chatsworth, Georgia.
Yep.
And he's also part of the Manson family.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. But yeah, that's all I got.
Excellent. Well, thank you, David. That's a lot more than I think we would have had without you. So, Joseph, anything to add?
Everything they just said, I had written down.
Okay, and I have a feeling that might be the same for you, Eric, or do you have anything extra?
No, I have a few things.
Okay.
Did you know that Brad Sykes worked on Kiss the Girls in 1997, the Morgan Freeman film? He was a production assistant on that movie.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I like that movie.
Yes. The director of parts 4 and 5 is the infamous Dustin Ferguson, who makes quite a lot of movies every day, basically. He has a new movie every day. Brad Sykes has written a number of non-fiction books which sound kind of interesting. He did one called Terror in the Desert, Dark Cinema of the American Southwest, which covers films like Hitcher and Jewel and Tremors. And then in 2023 he brought out one called Neon Nightmares, LA Thrillers of the 1980s, which has things like Cobra, To Live and Die in LA, Fade to Black, Dead Heat, The Howling, amongst others. So they look kind of interesting. Yes, filmed in 3D. Jeff Burr was a mentor to him when he first moved to LA. So Jeff Burr, the director, of course, of Leatherface and Stepfather 2. So he took him under his wing when he first moved to LA, helped him get started with his filmmaking career. His first movie he shot was one called Scream Queen, apparently. Which was filmed and made in early 1998, although it didn't get released until after Camp Blood had come out. So that, I think, is all I have that hasn't been said. But at least I had something.
Yes, well done. I'm very... but you've just read out everything that I was going to read out, Eric. So,
okay.
Unfortunately. So I don't have anything to add that hasn't already been added, really. I think it's probably a bit of a surprise reaction to Camp Blood. All things considered.
Yeah.
But what was the reaction from our listeners, Joseph?
Well, we had 14 comments for Camp Blood. Still can't wrap my head around 14 people actually watching this movie, but here are the top 3 comments. Lou from Boston writes, I remember avoiding this like the plague at Blockbuster circa 2001, but when Nate picked it, I knew it was time to finally watch it. Maybe it was that my expectations were so low, or that I was 13 making backyard slashers in 1999 that were about $50 cheaper than this. Wow. But I really enjoyed it. I actually watched part 2 right after, which is like a mix of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 with the recycled footage from the first film, and Scream 3 with the making of a movie about the first movie angle. All in all, I've seen worse acting, worse lack of gore, and characters way more unlikable. I can't believe it, but Camp Blood is pretty good. T-Bone Tony Hartman says, I've grown to really like this movie, watched it last year for the first time in over a decade, and I had a blast. Yes, I was high as a kite while watching. It was great to see Courtney Taylor, Mary Lou from Prom Night 3 The Last Kiss, which I also love, playing a completely different character. I didn't even realize it was her until this most recent watch. As a huge 2000s slasher fan, I'm ready for you guys to start really digging into some trash. Fuck off, Tony.
That's harsh.
And Matt, yeah, sorry, Tony. I am looking forward to kind of some more trashy stuff. But Matt Minter concludes, it's fine. I like the idea of a shitty clown Blair Witching a forest, but this needed way more clown and less dumb campers. The final girl is a bit too shrill and mouth-breathy. Thank you, Matt. She's also kind of a grandma runner. And someone replied to him, what is a grandma runner? And Matt said, for the answer to a grandma runner, watch Camp Blood. Follow us on Blue Sky at THC-podcast. Listen on Patreon and YouTube to help support the show, or listen wherever you catch your pods if you don't want to support financially. Write to the show via the Hysteria continues at gmail.com with movie-related and general feedback. If all of that sounds like too much to remember, just search our name. You'll find us. Over to you, Justin.
Okay, well, excellent. Well, do we have some feedback as well?
Yes, I have one here. So This is from Brett from the Comeuppance Reviews podcast. Brett says, hi guys, I just watched the Vinegar Syndrome release of Creature, aka Titan Find, with your commentary complete with all the gaps. Yes, that famous commentary. Unless I'm wrong, you've never done an episode of the podcast about Creature, and Nathan wasn't on the commentary, so that would be a good correction. Do you have any future plans to do a Creature episode? Are any of you aware of the movie Final Examination from 2003? That's not to be confused with the classic Final Exam from 1981. This one stars Carrie Joseph, and I describe I describe it as a Skinamax slasher. An episode about that would probably be really funny. How do you pronounce her surname? Is it Wurer?
Wurer.
Okay, yeah. It just sounds like you're trying to, I don't know. Justin, are you aware of the band Specimen? They were a goth band from Bristol, so I'd imagine you would have some awareness of them. Erik, I know you're a fan of inspired by the Exorcist movies. I don't like the term knockoff. I mean, I think it's too mean. Have you seen that Cauldron Films is releasing Cries and Shadows, aka The Return of the Exorcist, 1975 on Blu-ray? Keep up the outstanding work. I'm a Patreon member and the extra content is awesome. Brett from the Comeuppance Reviews podcast. Okay, I'll address your questions. Thank you, Brett. Cries and Shadows is a film I think we were discussing in recent weeks. Justin had that incident where he watched something with your grandmother. What was it again? Oh, Enigma.
Yeah.
And we had... Who joined us in Dr. Caligari, was it? No, it was on Prom Night 2. He was saying he watched that with his mother or grandmother, and there was the extended nudie locker room chase. Well, I rented Cries and Shadows because it was released on VHS over here as The Exorcist 3, and I rented it quite early on in my movie viewing days, thinking it was a legitimate sequel to The Exorcist, and when I got home it was this very sleazy mid-1970s Italian movie filled with nudity and orgies, and I had to sit there and watch it with my father in the room. And I was mortified. But I am looking forward to seeing it again all these years later. I haven't seen it since then, Cries and Shadows, so it's coming out on Blu-ray. Justin, the band Specimen from Bristol.
Yes, they were the house band at the Batcave in London. So John Klein, who was from Bristol, I don't know him, but I know tangentially through someone else, and he was the guitar player in Susie and the Banshees for a number of years towards the end of their career. So yes, I'm aware of them.
Do you have any of the records?
No, I'm not sure if they put... I'm not sure how much. I think they only had a couple of releases. I don't think they're together that long.
Oh my God, I'm looking at a picture of them here. They are so goth.
Yeah, well, they were the house band of the Batcave. They ran the Batcave. So we've got, actually, for us, we've actually got quite a lot of feedback here. And looking at our page. Yeah. So what do we want to do, Joseph? Do you want to maybe one or two more and then keep the rest for next time?
Maybe do one more and then we'll save the rest for later because we're kind of running long already.
Yeah, we've got 4 more. So shall I do this? I've got a long one here, Erik. Mm-hmm. This one is from our friend Rob Freeze. He says, we actually got 2 from him, but I think it's the earlier one. He says, I recently started listening to the podcast from the beginning. When a new episode drops, I listen and then go back to earlier ones to catch up. I'm enjoying these earlier shows while you've grown up by leaps and bounds on the technical end. The one thing I find consistent is the amazing camaraderie among all 4 participants and the genuine love and respect you show for the genre. So you should hear what we say to each other behind the scenes. So it's Erik. No, I think we have that general. It's Eric's usually trying to goad me into posting horrible pictures of Toya, but Rob continues with saying, I like the old top 3 lists. They were fun, but I assumed you burned through most topics within the first couple of years of doing the podcast, which is kind of true, isn't it? Because there's only so many things we could recycle. Like, we already recycle Eric's jokes every week. So there's... Exactly. Yes. The top 3 that made an impression was the guilty pleasures list. Personally, I don't subscribe to the idea of guilty pleasures. 1, I don't feel guilty about anything I like. And 2, most of my favourite films are what normal people, in inverted commas, include on their lists of guilty pleasures, leading me to believe I only enjoy guilty pleasures anyway. Anyway, Nathan listed Splatter University as his top guilty pleasure. He caught plenty of heat for that, but I appreciated that he stuck to his guns. If Nathan is interested, please ask him to email his address, and I'd love to send him a copy of the novelisation I wrote for Splatter University. I wrote it based on writer-director Richard Haynes' original script, but also included all the additional scenes they went back and put into it. So, Nathan, would you be interested in seeing that?
Oh, I would absolutely be interested.
Excellent. Well, drop us the line, Rob, and we'll sort that out for you. But... let me have a look back. I'm looking forward to your dive into Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2. So I think this email is a little bit older, so we've got a little bit of a backlog. I really like that one, even though it was tonally different from the original. Lisa Scrooge kicked all the ass as Mary Lou Mahoney. Coming after A Nightmare on Elm Street, I always thought it was an attempt at creating a female Freddy Krueger, and they thought they did it pretty well. It received a theatrical release in Huntsville, Alabama in 1988 when I was a senior in high school, but it was already out in a theatre when I got around to going to see it. Sorry, it was already out of the theatre when I got around to going to see it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Fangoria first report the film under the title The Haunting of Hamilton High, which I think we mentioned on the episode there? That's correct. He continues, the Prom Night series is one of the strangest slasher series, equal with maybe Silent Night, Deadly Night. The first is a straight slasher, 2 and 3 go supernatural route, and then they go to the self-referential slasher on the fourth one. Did you guys count 1994's The Club as Prom Night 5? It was another supernatural slasher about a prom dance at an old house and a demon crashing the soiree. Peter Simpson was the executive producer, and intended it to be another Prom Night sequel, but it took on a life of its own, which is why I believe it changed its title. From when I was doing some research when I reviewed Prom Night 4, I think it's partly to do with Prom Night 4 just didn't make much money. And Prom Night 3, Prom Night 2, I think was quite a big hit relatively in Canada and probably in the United States. But Prom Night 3 underperformed, which is why they kind of went back to the slasher, so kind of more straight slasher thrills of the original with Part 4. But that didn't really work either. So I think they kind of, with Part 5, it was developed as Part 5, but they kind of basically decided that Prom Nights, they kind of exhausted the marketability of the franchise title at that point. So lastly, he says, do you guys know the two things that tie all four Prom Night sequels together? I'm sure you do. Each one features some variation on the line. It's not who takes you, it's who takes you home. And Brock Simpson, Peter's son, who appears in all four films. He's Little Nick in the original, Josh in Part 2, Larry in Part 3, and Father Colin in Part 4. And he just says, again, this kind of sort of dates it slightly. He says, Heart Eyes is out soon. I expect nothing and I hope for the best. So what did you guys think? I think we have talked about Heart Eyes. David, did you catch up with that?
We were going to see it the other day, and then something came up and we couldn't, but I plan on seeing it eventually. I don't have high hopes for it, but it would be nice to see a slasher movie in theaters that's an actual slasher movie, unlike Terrifier, which is not really a slasher. Just torture porn is all it is.
Yes, I concur with you there. But, talking about disappointments and things like Terrifier. Wait, what? How did you know I was going to be talking about this?
It's my joke of the week. It's so freaking fantastic.
So I cut my hand the other day and the liquid that poured out started saying, "Ooh, my name's Justin Carswell and I love Shirley Bassey and Barbara Streisand." Now, that's what I call camp blood.
Oh my God.
Because the blood was saying, "Oh, I'm Justin Carswell and I love Barbara Streisand and Shirley Bassey."
Okay.
Camp blood, because the blood was being camp, like Justin is camp. Camp.
The best jokes are the ones you have to explain.
I have a better one.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, let's see if let's give David a chance.
It's my joke of the week. It's so freaking fantastic.
So the director of Camp Blood really liked Eric's joke. Sykes.
No applause.
Good one, David.
Yeah, it's so nice and so unusual to have a laugh on the podcast. So thank you for that, David.
You're a real cunt, do you know that? A real fucking cunt. How can you be so shitty to people? How can you stand yourself?
Yeah, Justin, how can you stand yourself?
So, okay, well, that was a fitting end to the Camp Blood episode, I would posit. But what are we covering next time? I should know, actually, because it's my choice, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Erik has been recalled to the Turkish prison, I think that is correct, isn't it? So
I think so, yes.
You won't be joining us for the next episode.
No.
But we do have Amanda Reyes, great friend of the show, who's going to be joining us. And she's chosen, if you've been thinking we've maybe gone a little outside of the wheelhouse for things like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, you will be buoyed to hear that we are going back to the early 80s for Pure Slasher. It's a film we haven't covered, and Amanda has picked it. And if you know, well, I'm sure you know, if you listen to the show, Amanda is a complete encyclopedia and very insightful. And she's picked Silent Scream from 1980, 79. Anyway, well, it's late 70s, early 80s, you know, the golden era, as I sometimes refer to it. So, yes, we will be very much looking forward to Erik not being with us. Amanda being with us. And but you'll be back, Erik, won't you? You have got day release.
I will be back, yes.
Okay.
It's just 1 week only. I'm off to see Sonia.
Are you?
Yes, I'm going to see, now that's what I call a musical, and Sonia is the lead in it.
Okay, on that bombshell, what are we playing out with? I don't know if Nathan's chosen or asked David to choose something for us.
I mean, I didn't ask David to, but if you have a suggestion, David, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, just put me on the spot. That's great.
I've got one if you don't.
Go ahead. Yeah, I got nothing.
Well, we're going to go with Hungry Like the Wolf.
Why?
Duran.
Yeah, because the clown is in the woods like a wolf would be, and it's like hungry for kills.
Okay, well, thank you, David, for joining us.
Yeah, especially since I didn't even pick this one. It's just when I heard you guys were covering it, I
bullied his way in.
It's not the first bully we've had in the podcast.
Well, let's leave it there. So we'll catch you next time on Hysteria Continues when we're going back to the late 70s with Silent Scream. And thank you for listening, and say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Smell